We are now halfway through day one of Rift Rivals, and now we've got to bring in some fresh blood onto the desk to keep ourselves topped off. Welcome back, everyone. We're just about ready to get into KT versus MAD. Joining me here on the desk, fresh after some insults. Little bit of murdering going on over here?
Nothing.
Okay.
Camera saw nothing.
So just to get back to that, Clement, last I remember, you were calling out Papa on KT missing their easy, or no, sorry, not KT, Afrika missing their easy game?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Afrika missing their easy game because it was just down to analysis, and I thought that the matchup for Afrika was actually very difficult for them. Of course, they were drafted in a way that did give themselves a lot of openings against themselves.
Let me tell you a story. Predicting after champion select really a lot easier than predicting before champion
no.
select.
I said Afrika was going to be hard when they
I agree.
went to
But I agree. But for myself, I was like, oh, red side Afrika, and then they were blue side, and then it was after
so you're going back to the excuse.
Gentlemen, let's bring it back in. We'll consult the tapes, and we'll come to a conclusion after this.
I just need the next break to finish what I was doing before.
Exactly. But now we got to get into exactly. So KT versus MAD going on right now, and look at that, LCK LMS coming at you right here. Shall I just allow you two to start going back at it again, or do you?
I think this one perhaps there will be less cases.
Okay.
Can we shake on this one?
I'll hold my horses.
Ooh, a little bit of disaster on the desk. Okay, let's get into the matchup. We've got a bot lane brawl that we want to highlight here. Deft and Mata versus Breeze and K. Looks to be very exciting. Clement, why don't you walk us through what we're going to expect on this side of the game?
We're seeing two teams that like to team fight go up against each other, and their star players are both in the bot lane. K and Breeze have been the mainstays for MAD right here. They've come from YE Gaming. They've been paired along for a really long time. And if you look at the kills plus assists at 15, they both perform at a very high caliber. Most of the team fights, most of the early skirmishes are going to happen there.
But then you look on the side of KT Rolster, and it's the legendary bot lane. Two players that people wanted to pair together as old as the MVP Samsung days many moons ago. Deft and Mata, fantastic in lane. I would say best performing bot lane in Korea by a landslide. They also like to get dirty. They love the Mordekaiser as well, so who's to say they won't be playing something like Mordekaiser and Swain. But if your win condition is play through bot lane, you better have a whole lot of bad guys coming to join you, because otherwise Deft and Mata are going to have a field day.
And, of course, we have already seen a lot of roaming mid laners. Of course, that's Aaliyah in the last game. But Uniboy and UCal, not exactly players that are known for having particularly wide champion pools coming into this.
Definitely true for Uniboy. Last split, he was a Ryze main only. Didn't have a lot of diversity. But this split, he's gone back into the Aurelia, into the Zoe picks. He's shown a lot of growth personally, and he does provide a bit more support around the river.
And UCal just turning 17 in January of this year. So, of course, just a very new player. He's still getting it together. His champion pool, known as a Talia one trick originally, then has been able to play a lot more picks. Recently been on some of those facilitators, even the Galio in recent memory.
You can see the roster right now. Smeb, Score, UCal, Deft, and Mata for KT Rolster. On their opponents on the red side, though, it's MAD, Liang, Kyungyu, Uniboy, Breeze, and K.
The team MAD, of course, the second wave of new LMS teams. They were the B team of AHQ. They've already taken over the predecessor's spot.
New A team, apparently.
Apparently. Nobody really expected that. And we're seeing the same thing from G-Rex as well. So this is the international debut of these second wave LMS teams. We want to see how well they can fare against some of the best.
I just wonder about bans here from KT Rolster, because there is those picks like the Aurelia you mentioned where are they going to be banned, or are they going to be first picked and then new counter picks are in? Because we're seeing a whole new wave of champions. Gragas top, that's new. New Aatrox is a new thing. We're seeing a lot of flexibility. I feel like KT would have done probably the minimum of prep here and said, okay, this is what they play. Let's just do our own game. That's always going to be a double-edged sword. So it's really fun to see a match that on paper is super one-sided, and yet couple of early kills happen, and who knows?
Yeah, it certainly could be up for grabs. Of course, we've already seen the debut of a new massive champion, Aatrox, in this as well.
Definitely.
Could be an opening for MAD if they are allowed to take that. What are you looking for, Clement?
Well, I'm looking for MAD to go back to some of their best champions. You talked about the Bruiser bot lane coming in from KT. MAD, they like to play more traditional. Breeze has been known for his Ezreal play and also his Ashe play as well. You know, great mechanics, very high up in the Korean solo queue ladder. In fact, a couple of Korean teams actually actually asked him to join if it was possible, then figured out he was from the LMS, already had a team. So the bot lane duel is where I really want to see everything go down, and it's really fun to see two different contrasting styles going up against each other.
So I want to expand this a little bit more to the jungle as well, because we know bottom lane is going to be super important. We're already expecting roaming mid laners. Are we going to see like Nocturne down there, Taliyah in the jungle to try and affect that?
This week, 8-12, I say last week, we had 1 week of 8-12, one Nocturne game, banned every other game. Nocturne is seen as a must ban, so I find it very hard to leave. Funnily enough, Score the only person to actually get the Nocturne.
Yeah.
It's going to be first picked if it's open. It's the next round that's interesting, and also the new pick. We've seen no Kindred so far this tournament.
Yes.
Buffed on 8-12, Score has already played 3 games going to hard carry performance against MVP. It was buffed on 8-13. This Kindred power level is too damn high.
Well, Clement, what are you looking for?
Well, I'm really looking forward to the jungle matchup as well. Kongyue is one of the new members jumping MAD. They previously had Benny, really good as a aggressive early game jungler, known for his kind of like hard-hitting picks like Camille and the Xin Zhao. So, going to be a good matchup.
It certainly is. That said, though, we are now ready to get into this game. As we go, though, let's hear Liang's thoughts on this matchup.
我们 Mating 也算是一支新成立的队伍，然后队员也都算是蛮年轻的。但这次去大连和其他强队较量，希望可以颠覆观众的看法，打败这些强队。这次洲际赛最想遇到的对手应该是 SMAP。 我会和打野一起联动，让他们看到我们的实力。
Well, hello, you beautiful and magnificent people of the internet. I'm Matthew Stewart, and I'm joined by the Da Vinci of Dollary himself, Barento Raz Muhammad, as we go through the final 3 brilliant games of Rift Rivals that we have here today. And first up, Raz, it's going to be KT taking on MAD.
All right, let's get into it. I mean, remember, its score is starting, so the Kindred is the one that I want to look towards immediately. It's a pick that he's gone towards so frequently, and it got a buff in the recent patch too, so more sustain that you're able to get in your skirmishes. That being said, they heard me and said, we're moving away from that. The Taliyah pick is already going to be being locked in from KT.
Yep, already being locked in for KT. We'll have to keep track and see where that Taliyah pick is actually going to go for the roster, because around the world, Raz, we've seen Taliyah in 4 different positions.
And remember, they have Yucal, the Korean solo queue, Taliyah himself. Now, I always wonder, there's always a question in the back of my mind with the loss of wave clear in the mid lane with Taliyah. It's a lot difficult for her to get out of the lane, but you can still actually, the mobility that she has is super good when she actually gets the opportunity. So, that being said, Yucal probably, you know, thinks that's still a proper kit towards her. He just needs a little extra help to get out of that laning phase.
Also not going towards the Camille first pick, a priority pick that we saw in the LPL. Makes sense, none of the LPL teams playing in this match, but MAD lock it in first alongside Irelia as their first pick.
And remember the video coming into this one, Liang talked about the strong players that they're going up against, KT specifically. Remember, MAD has some really strong players statistically in their own region as well. Kongyue has been an exceptional jungler in the split, and Camille has been a jungler that he's really locked onto and has found success in the early game, really finding those ganks. So if you're KT, you have to watch out for him in the early portions of the game, because they might just run away from you.
I mean, especially since MAD are notoriously known as that early game team in the LMS at the moment. Doing well so far for the start of Spring Split, but they're up against KT, an early game team themselves. And they've picked up Shen as well as Dr. Mundo as their final 2 picks in the first draft phase, with Singed being the final pick for MAD.
And so that means we have to look towards the bottom lane. Mordekaiser is an immediate takeaway, because that has to be a Shen bot. One thing you get to see quite frequently in the LCK are kill lanes like Morgana Shen, Swain Shen is another one. Swain being banned out is also another smart point for Mad as well. So Deft, while he's an exceptional AD carry, one of the few LCK players coming into the event, him and Prey having exceptional numbers, he's been moving towards the bruisers, the mages, so understanding that first step for Mad to be able to take this one in the pick ban.
I mean, 6 games on Mordekaiser, a couple of games on Vlad, and 1 on Swain as well. Definitely moving away from the traditional AD carries, as Papa said. It's the awesome dudes in the bottom lane at the moment in the LCK, but that one fantastically. Mordekaiser was instantly banned out by MAD once they saw that KT has not picked up their theoretical bottom lane pick. It could still be Taliyah, with Skarner being taken away next. Ooh. KT also attacking the bottom lane, with Ashe and Lucian being banned away, but Ezreal's the first lock-in for MAD.
Safe bottom lane for Breeze and K is what we're already seeing. Now I want to see what the support pick being lined up, because you don't get to see a lot of support last picks in this meta. That just means that Mad just want to see what the AD carry pick is here, so they can go towards perhaps I would have to say maybe a tankier option, and Alistar would do quite well.
We'll have to see what they lock in, but they go for Varus instead. One of the more commonly banned champions, actually the 5th most banned champion against KT at the moment, with Morgana being locked in as their final pick.
Wow, and that's just bottom lane priority right there. Pick potential with the Morgana, since it just got locked in. Pick potential with the ultimate coming out of Varus as well. So KT had the options of just looking towards bottom lane and going for a gank. That being said, I wonder, looks like the Morgana might be the mid lane, is what I'm looking at.
Because it should be Talia in the jungle with these final picks. Could be Shen in the bottom lane as the support, but then sending Dr. Mundo top lane, Morgana in the mid lane. We'll have to keep track to see where KT use these champions, which lanes they head into, what positions they'll be playing. For MAD here, they're going to be locking in Ornn as their final pick.
All right, so that looks like it's going to be an Ornn in the bottom lane. It's very safe. It's very safe within the laning phase. Has decent enough numbers if it's going up against the Shen pick. And also, once you get into the team fights, you have the team fight ultimate that he provides, since they definitely need that go sign from the Mad side. They don't have an all-in engage other than that Ornn, so that's nice to see that they were able to round that up with the Ezreal. Ezreal poke in the laning phase, and of course, providing that in the team fights.
I mean, you take a look at the picks that MAD have picked up in the LMS. Ezreal, the 3rd most played champion in their bottom lane position. No Ornn games being played, with 5 Tahm Kench games being played and Braum only being played once. Seems like KT have just been banning out the most played champions from MAD and seeing what else they have up their sleeve.
Yeah, and you know what just happened here? This is really cool. UCal, of course, known as the Talia player. He's picking up Talia jungle here, so actually taking that away from Score, has the smite to his name, so it's really cool to see the flexibility coming out of KT already.
Yeah, with Shen being picked up, heading into the jungle for KT, Talia going to be pick up the smite, so that's probably in the jungle. We'll have to keep track and see what this team decides to do, because they're a little bit unorthodox, especially to start game number 1 against MAD.
Yeah, you see quite a few junglers actually going towards the support play, globally that is. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's actually Score going down to the bottom lane.
Funnel into Talia?
I would say, actually, it looks like, in my opinion, it's just going to be a standard play. Shen in the bottom lane. He's going to be trying to go up. I think they're just trading up the roles up, just because UCal is known to be a Talia player. So he'd be a lot more comfortable with the utility, the kit of the champion itself.
And that's curious, because we also talk about KT, their jungle and mid lane synergy, looking across from MAD as well, utilizing the jungle mid lane synergy that they have in the LMS. So if you're going to be splitting them apart, moving them across the map, kind of takes away that impact that they should have early into the match.
Oh, for KT, 100%. That's what's going to be fun to see. I mean, going into this, we weren't shying away. MAD has a really strong jungle mid lane. MVP performances from Uniboy in the LMS. And so this is a great time to shine on the Aurelia pick.
Definitely would be. Moving that into the mid lane for MAD, up against who knows what at the moment, Raz, because it's unorthodox all across the Rift, as is the current meta. So let's get on to the Rift for game number 1.
Ooh, level 1 shenanigans. That being said, now usually you looked into a KT game, love to see scores pathing. Not going to happen. Sad day for you.
It's good Targons.
Pathing himself to the bottom side of the map. And we'll see what happens if this early game invade comes up strong.
Very early game invade coming out from KT Rolster. Moving towards the top side of the map, they were able to kill a ward that was placed down in the top lane, Tribrush, nice and early. So they got access into MAD's red buff, but not going to stick around, it seems. Instead, heading straight back into their own side of the jungle. MAD did the exact same thing, but they were able to place down 2 deep vision wards, one at the Raptor Brush, one at red buff itself. Seems like jungles will be starting on the opposite sides of the map. Blue buff being taken by both junglers here.
And the real question is whether UCal is going to be going to the bottom side and, you know, have a proper standard clear and say, you know where I am, but at the very least I have a proper ward to see where you're going to. Or if he just ends up trading sides. If he ends up trading sides going top side, he will be able to actually focus onto Liang's Singed, and you don't get the Singed shenanigans on towards the Mundo. So real question is what is going to be happening on his end. That being said, Score is pathing with UCal in the jungle.
Helping him out, clear out these camps, possibly heading into the mid lane, holding up the farm as well, pick up Targon. A Gold Cup funnel comp onto a Talia. Not an attack damage carry that we normally see. Not a Mordekaiser Shyvana. That's a little bit unorthodox, but something we've seen before.
I love the idea because the leveling that you can get, if he's going to be picking up this wave, as he should, on towards UCal, is super fun. He's going to be buffed up by the fact that not only if you're duoing With Score in the mid lane, you get the 30% added experience. I mean, it's not basically a 50-50 draw. If you're doing, you actually get quite a bit of experience, bonus experience onto that one, as well as the fact that he's benefiting and going into the camps. So he's going to be able to hit a faster level 6, already level 3, while Uniboy right now is level 2. And then once he pings 6, you know what's going to happen. Gets the ultimate. You might see a dive in the bottom side of the map. Depends. We'll see what ends up being a proper move for them, because right now the trade on the top side of the map is looking pretty poor for Leon.
I mean, especially as you mentioned, when you hit level 6, Talia can build a wall, Shen can ride the wall with them as well, crash into the bottom lane, look for a gank there. Also, making sure that UCAL snowballs ahead. We'll pick up a ton of CS, already 28-15 in that mid lane. We'll put Score slightly behind as the support, especially since KT are running 2 support champions, so we'll be curious to see when this funnel composition comes online for them. But aside of MAD, running Camille in the jungle, a very early game aggressive jungle, one that synergizes quite well with mid lane and top lane solo champions. Haven't seen too much from it early. What is his job in this match?
Simple. Look to skirmish, work with your mid laner, double bruiser on that end as well. Means that if you find a pick opportunity, it should go well and truly in your favor with the precision tree, or at least the one that you're able to have press the attack. Makes it very difficult if you're UCAL and gets caught off. So smart from Uniboy, holding the wave, making it harder for UCAL and Score to time things properly, because the difficulties of this, the farming that UCAL and Score is doing, is that you actually know where they're heading at all times, where they're leaving. If they're leaving the mid lane to go side, to the left, I mean to the right now, of course, going to the blue side jungle. And so it's easier for Kongyu and Uniboy to plan when they're actually going to challenge them on these camps.
But they only just spotted out that KT head into the blue side of the jungle. Wards were placed down by the set of KT, but not by MAD.
Oh, TP coming through.
Trying to get into the flanks, but a flash ball for Mata, and the taunt, and the flick back. Just throw everything at Uniboy, but somehow still alive for now. Ignite is ticking, Blast Cone is there, and it's actually first blood going over to Sige. MAD trying to turn around this fight, getting one for themselves and keeping the Uniboy alive.
Super good TP coming in from Liang. And at the end of the day, they challenged them like we said that they would. It just came down that they were committing fully with Liang's TP, and even though we thought that it was a proper answer from KT to go on towards Uniboy, damage reduction, baby, that's what Irelia has, and so they lose nobody off of that.
Good play, stops the aggressive invade that was coming out from KT. On top of that, they get a kill onto that support, funneling the goal. Let's take a look at that again.
And so this looks like a good response from KT going towards Uniboy. He finds an instant access out, not even mentioning the fact that he had the blast cone available to himself. And so, you know, TP came through, well-timed, well-communicated, and they lost nobody out of it.
No, they didn't lose anything at all, just a teleport being burnt, but we saw Smeb in that fight as well. So both top laners burning their teleports to start things, but it is a fairly high CS advantage for Smeb. Will be equalized if Liang is able to pick up most of this lane. We'd heard from him before we went in the champion select as well, Raz, you know? Startup team coming out from MAD, new to this, but had a decent spring split, were able to qualify for Rift Rivals, and they've started summer split strong. They're currently 3-0.
Yeah, just because they're confident in the player's strength itself. They know that they're strong players. We've heard these stories before. LCK's had their Griffin, and it seems like LMS has had a strong team in MAD that we can look towards and say that Uniboy is confident in his individual skill. Kongyu coming into this split, confident in his individual skill. And Liang has been known as being a carry top laner in that right as well. So 3 very strong carries, and then Matt on the bottom side of the map, just knowing that they don't have to do anything. They can actually just play this one out super safe, super lame, going up against Deft and Mata, and they know that the rest of the map will be winning it for them.
And it is fairly safe in that bottom lane. It is about a 10 CS lead to KT Rolster at the moment. Varus going up against Ezreal. And MAD have some great leadership behind them. I mean, they acquired the spots from AHQ Fighters when they promoted into the LMS. Of course, AHQ are in the league. They cannot have 2 teams in there at the same time.
Yep.
But they also acquired AHQ's head coach of Green Tea, who played with AHQ for the longest time. Now he's coaching MAD. So they have that experience to help a team like MAD, and it seems like they're just getting stronger and stronger split to split.
Yeah, and Green Tea known as a strategist of AHQ, so that backing 100% helps you day after day in scrims, in practice. And of course instilling confidence in a lot of these players. So time, it's only getting better for them. And it seems like day one, you would expect them to at least be nervous. At this, the first game going up against KT, going up against legendary players, you're like, all right, maybe a mistake or two, mechanically speaking. Maybe you don't make a play like that if you're Liang, because you just might lose your laning phase entirely if that goes poorly. But they double down, and that's what's so impressive from him.
He picks up that first kill, already 2 stacks on his double Dark Seal that he picked up.
Oh, that's fun.
Potentially see him start to run around in between turrets later on in the match. And Liang statistically just looks so good as a player.
Yeah, damage per minute, damage percentage, obviously. A lot of it comes down to the fact that Liang as a player throughout the time of MAD is pretty much known as like the primary carrier of the team. Of course, the focus now being shifted towards Kongyu and Uniboy. I think the major addition of Kongyu makes it so much easier for his solo lanes to thrive, to be beneficial, adding the added control wards to being able to place going into this league in the LMS. Just makes it so the strength, at the very least in the laning phase, is that much more buffed up.
So far doing well so far, holding his own against Smeb's Dr. Mundo in the top lane. MAD going to try and make a play for themselves, moving towards the first elemental dragon. A Cloud Dragon should be picked up nice and easy, no contest coming out from KT. Easily smited and secured by MAD.
One thing to take note of, other than this, wait a minute.
Liang in a lot of trouble, flashes away from Smeb's, going to throw his file, doesn't connect. Poison is ticking and Smeb's still going to try and continue with the chase. Minions now getting aggro against Dr. Mundo, but does force the flash summon the spell.
Yeah, real brothers in the lane is coming in. I love the fact that, I don't know how that happened. We just got dropped into essentially a tank battle going up against the Poison Man. I felt like Smeb should have been able to handle it, obviously. Must have been able to get control of the wave coming into it, but that was just a really large wave. So he couldn't have, especially since the last cleaver was dodged out fairly well. Just felt like Liang could just wait it out. So hopefully Liang doesn't come into that same situation next time.
Well, teleport's going to be up and available for these two top laners as well. And we have seen level 6 being hit by Yukao, in fact exceeding that, now level 8. Uniboy doing well, holding his own, level 8 himself. Score just ticked over to level 6, so that ultimate is available for KT. This is where we said they're going to start to be aggressive with this final composition, but where does it actually come online, Raz?
Should be bottom lane, should have been probably, a minute ago. That's the worry for me. Their composition got to a point where not only were we seeing Deft having his ultimate available for himself, Mata being able to engage if they wanted to. Same thing, this was what the composition, or at least the Yukao score gold funneling, well, I would say experience funneling in this case, wanted to lead towards. Early game fighting, early game power, and unfortunately with the last fight, seems like they're just trying to gather more gold and not find themselves behind. That being said, they can get this push off here, get the Raptor camp, push mid once, and look for bottom lane. That'd be really nice, seeing that Ezreal is about to pass thing. It just depends on what the bottom lane wave looks like.
Well, right now it's crashing into MAD's side of the map. Ezreal is able to get a quick recall, has the Sheen, as well as Tear of the Goddess available, so he's stacking that up nice and early, has some early game damage from that too. Deft rushing Ninja Tabbies on his AD pick of Varus here, going for the pickaxe first, looking towards that Rage Blade as his first item.
Take a look at what's transpiring right now, because I would have expected KT to be rotating bottom lane, but it's actually the bottom lane rotating top side to help out in the vision, to help out in KT pushing out mid lane. It feels very tense. The fact that MAD got a whiff of that, and we're trying to look for a counter there. So had KT played it a little bit too risky, as they do regional lane, maybe place a control ward a little bit too deep, that would have been a catch up from Mad. So I like the fact that they're forward thinking in this game.
I mean, Mad have already been able to punish KT once. When we saw the very early jungle invade to the blue side, that teleport coming out from Liang was able to net MAD a kill and delay this final comp slightly. But do MAD have to be proactive here? Do they have to continue attacking Yukao and score? Can they sit back, relax, and say, you know what, let's let them make the first play and we try and react to that?
I think they should be comfortable sitting back. They know where Yukao and Score be pathing to at most times. And the last play that was presented to themselves and got them that one kill is going to happen again if they can play it properly. They have to accept the fact that Yukao and Score are going to have push mid lane. That means Aurelia is going to be sitting underneath the tower, and unfortunately she doesn't have teleport, so she's either going to be coming to the play late, so that's why you can tell that Breeze and Kay are actually playing fairly far back. They have to. They'll have to value their opportunities. The windows are essentially when Yukao goes back mid lane and push. The moment Kongyu has a clear in his bottom side jungle and can look to actually get a proper skirmish, as well as finding a small window of Kay's free time, then they can get another skirmish happening again and again.
Well, stopwatches are now online, Raz. Teleports are up and available for both the bottom lane players as well as the top lane champions of Dr. Mundo as well as Singe. KT are going to start by attacking Rift Herald. Seems to be the objective of choice right now.
Yeah, they don't see it happening, at least Matt doesn't, so it should be
no vision.
A free Rift Herald from KT. It's going to be making it even harder for Matt to respond. They don't have proper wave clear. That's the real worry here, is that, if Yukao could pick this one up, come up with the rest of the team as they've been having push bottom lane, set it on mid, and the only thing Mad has to do is concede that first tower, or if they really want to, hold it, then they would have to force a fight, and that's the state of M&D's composition.
But so far, no fights taking place, Raz. 12 minutes in, fairly quiet. Mad reacting to a couple of aggressive plays coming out from KT. Then it's all been about watching UCal farm on Talia.
Oh, interactive.
That's it. Interactions are great.
It's fun.
Well, Smeb is keeping Liang kind of locked down in the top lane.
Oh, wait a minute.
13 to 87 CS.
Is he going to hit another one? No, he didn't.
He gets flung backwards. It's kind of a stalemate. We saw some aggressive trades. We saw the flash being burnt earlier, but it's just pushing the waves back and forth.
That's the benefit of MAD. I mean, we talked about the fact that KT, UCal, and Score, pushing up mid quite frequently. They have the ultimates available to themselves as well. So the fact that Mad's been playing this one out patiently, waiting for Uniboy's power spike in his Trinity Force, at the very least, if he can get his Stinger, Sheen as well, then he would be at a perfect time to actually look to just go on towards UCal with the benefit of Kongyu as well. So just the 2v2 should be in their favor the moment they get to a proper item break point. I mean, that's literally 2 Trinity Force users right there. So getting straight on top of UCal should be an easy venture if they get to that item. So it looks pretty lame from them, but that really is just coming down to just gold value.
And those two Trinity Force users are going to be Camille as well as Irelia in the mid lane.
Yep.
Potentially at the same time, Breeze could pick one up himself. Now you have 3 if they manage to find a fight in the bottom lane. Even more going in the way of Mad, especially if they kill UCal. That's all the gold right now. However, Deft has picked up an item himself. Gwinsu's Rage Blade being complete. Breeze completes his Sheen, going towards the Iceborne Gauntlet instead of that Trinity Force we were talking about.
Wow, it just means that he wants to have control in fights a little bit more
utility
as a priority, yeah. So that means that, of course, that build Muramana is going to be a lot slower. You're not going to have it immediately like 21 minutes into the game. It's not a problem to him as long as he's able to slow the pace of the game down, and that's their directive.
It's also just a very difficult composition to look across from and be like, this is going to be difficult to survive. You've got crowd control coming from every single player, and a Dr. Mundo that's going to run at you no matter what.
Yeah, I would say the difficulty here for KT is that they don't actually win out in those mid-game skirmishes early on, as we get to see live Uniboy.
Very early fight. UCal forced to flash away. Aurelia starts it. Mad K. Okay. He's mad, okay?
Super good response from at least Mata, just coming in there protecting UCal. He has to blow flash. That's the most important part of all of that. Because if they set up for this next dragon, if they just go for the next play, then Mad can actually look for a response there.
Which is up. Neither team posturing around the Cloud Dragon just yet. MAD were able to pick up the first.
Oh.
But Rifteld being thrown into the mid lane by UCal. KT going to try and make a push for this turret.
Okay, people ain't on the right position, so you can already see Breeze and K booking into the mid lane, so you have to concede this tower.
Which means that KT will be able to pick up the first turret of this match. Gold going over towards UCal, towards the bottom lane duo of Deft and Mata. Gets another charge into the mid lane, in the turret as well. Good chip damage there. And now KT are looking towards the dragon itself, posturing around the pit, putting control wards down, placing even more vision wherever they can.
Yeah, and if they can get the dragon off the field immediately and look to the next one, speeding up the process of the game, that's in their best interest. Issue here is that Mad's team fighting later on when the game goes to a point where Aurelia can dive towards UCal and Deft fairly easily, and Breeze, you actually just can't get on him, so it's actually difficult for Smeb and Score in this team fight. They just don't have any real frontliners other than Smeb, and it's going to be difficult for him to walk up if Score doesn't have the gold value since he's been running around with boots and mobility. That's where my fear comes in with KT. They have a time limit that I see, where Mad's composition is a lot more easier to utilize later in the game.
If you had to predict the time, how long do MAD just have to hold on for? And what can that gold disparity be for them? Can they sit behind by 3,000, 4,000 gold? They have to make it really close.
I think that it would have to be real close just because of the utility that KT has in their composition, that they can actually, once they start getting the flow and moving, pushing waves a lot more frequently, then they will have the numbers advantage. That's just going to be a given. So I would say they'd have to keep it fairly close. But at that being said, at the same time, I'd say 20 minutes into the game, once the second Trinity Force comes through from Kongyu, they should be comfortable enough to start really looking at UCal.
Well, Kongyu's already skipped upgrading his jungle item. They're still holding on to just the Smite Enchantment. Tiamat was rushed shortly after, now looking straight towards the Trinity Force next. So that will be pretty close.
And remember, the dive is still, Uniboy is going to be fairly liberal in his dive. The fact that he has another, a stopwatch for himself means that he can go in, stopwatch if he has enough chunk on towards UCal, and feel comfortable that the team will back him up.
And you can still see Mad playing a little bit passive here. You were talking about waiting till the 20-minute mark, then trying to take it to KT. Lots of control wards currently controlling the vision for KT along the Dragon River. They were waiting inside that pixel brush for quite some time. Now making aggressive play bottom res.
Yeah, the bottom lane tower is what they really want. K and Breeze got to watch out here.
But they don't decide to go any further forward. They don't push aggressively towards Breeze as well as K.
And you'd have to say the reason why they're not going for it, they don't have a wave, so that when they push under tower, then that's just the tower on top of them immediately. And they recognize that Kongyu and Uniboy are waiting for the play to happen. You know, gut instinct, they recognize Kongyu is just waiting and lying in wait. So even if they throw the wall from Talia, that they wouldn't be able to follow up, they'd at least maybe get flash from K, but they recognize that that's not enough. That's not worthwhile.
But it's said KT decided they're going to start Dragon themselves. K will spot this out, but Elemental Dragons are now being equalized. KT picks up one, Mad got the first one. Next one to spawn is going to be in Infernal in 6 minutes time.
All right, if KT can get this bottom lane tower, they need to start prioritizing the wave. Or people, wait a minute.
Be caught out though, Varus throws out the ultimate, and K is going to fall, or is he? Not just yet, stopwatch is there. A few more auto attacks would be no! So close, Def still gets the snipe, picks up a kill for KT.
I really wish he survived from that one. I really do. But no, he doesn't.
I'm with you, Raz.
Unfortunately, KT's actually going to be able to get this push, and this is what they wanted. 10 seconds now in terms of death timer. That just means that they'll be able to get this tower if they really try for it. Now, I don't think they've been chipping at this tower throughout the entire laning phase.
Just two members here as well.
Yeah, that's the problem. If it's just two of them chipping at a full HP tower, you know, Breeze is already there to defend, then they don't see it worthwhile. They want to be back on the map to be able to, you know, prioritize top lane vision.
I mean, they burn a couple of summoner spells, but K is rocking Unsealed Spellbook on his own, so immediately swaps up, picks up an Exhaust for himself. Still doesn't have his flash up and available. KT didn't expend too much except for a couple of ultimates, but that's all they get, Raz. Just a pick. They're about 1,000 gold ahead of MAD, and we're 1 minute away from that 20-minute mark, and 1 minute away from Baron spawning as well.
Yeah, Uniboy is going to get his flash too. A lot of flashes are up for Mad. So if KT ever goes for a bottom lane dive, and MAD is prepared for it, then they're really in a good position, especially for the next Dragon. Sure, Baron's going to be coming up soon. That's not going to be a priority, just because of how well aware both of these teams are in terms of the enemy team's positioning. So I would say a lot of focus is going to be on this Dragon. A lot of focus is going to be on the preparation for the Dragon, and there's more likely to be a team fight over a control ward than the Dragon itself.
Still some time to about 23, 24 minutes is when that Infernal Dragon is going to be online. Baron will be up before that. Neither team making any aggressive postures towards the pit. We shouldn't see any early rushes coming out from them either. Stop laughing.
He can do whatever he wants.
It's not that funny, Raz. They're just running at each other, hitting each other for 20 damage.
Actually, Smeb is getting the better of this one.
Oh, he's hitting him with
There's one more.
No.
Okay, get out of here. Your job is done.
Get out of that lane. Please don't go back up there ever again.
You know what? Bless you, Observer. You can do what you want. I support you 100%.
I don't.
10%. Anything Fish says don't do, please do.
Okay, he's actually going to try and make an aggressive play. Bottom lane, they lock down Breeze, gets over the wall, takes some damage. And even Summoner's being burnt by KT. Both Deft and Mata flash forward for that play.
And so you can start seeing the frustration from KT coming out. They recognize that Mad was just going to be sitting on the bottom side of the map. Kongyu was going to be losing experience, I guess, on the top side because he hasn't been taking his red buff just to protect this from happening. So KT's like, all right, we're going to blow Breeze's flash. I don't care. We need to get something going rather than stalling out for 20 minutes.
They're trying to attack this bottom lane outer turret. KT have brought multiple members down here. There is a deep flanking ward available for Mad. Liang can teleport down, and the rest of their members have started to collapse. Singe not going to make the play just yet. Score does get slowed down.
He has enough time for the next wave. So if the next wave comes through and if KT wants to actually take this tower down, then you'd have to expect Liang to respond.
Liang is moving straight back up towards top side of the map. So that push coming out from KT was good in the sense they chipped away the bottom lane outer turret. They are moving members away from this part of the map, however.
And you know what? Now that I think about it, just because Smeb actually got a proper push on towards the top lane tower, they can force his hand. Taking this tower means that they don't have a response here if you're Liang, because if you go TP bottom lane, you lose a massive wave top lane, is once again another large risk that Mata and Def should be willing to take.
Even that top lane outer turret has taken quite a beating from the trades that we saw in the top lane, from forcing Liang back to base. So although not the aggressive, flashy play that we were expecting out of KT to attack the bottom lane from MAD, they still pick up a nice lead for themselves. 2,000 gold ahead, top lane outer turret is ready to be taken down.
Yeah, in about 2 minutes, the Dragon's going to be coming up Infernal. You might expect that to be a game decider. I wonder if Mad's going to take that extra step. Usually teams, when they find themselves in this position, losing the bottom lane tower, having confidence that your team fight's going to be much stronger, they're willing to give away the first Infernal just because it's too large of a risk. But some teams, naturally, young enough, they're willing to take that fight. I wonder which team Mad is.
We'll have to check it out. These two teams, however, as we said, they're early game teams. It's 1-1 in kills, 22 minutes into the match.
Look, I hear you.
You lied to me.
Maybe.
I also lied to people.
Yes, you did. Take responsibility.
But now they're going for a fight. Mad actually initiating. Yukel forced to flash, but still gets stunned. Summoner spell blown. Teleport from Deft to try and join this skirmish as well, but he cancels that. KT immediately moves towards top side of the map.
And I think Matt has to respond to this top lane push. That's a large wave.
Can't get
That's
there
a low
in time,
HP. So that's a problem. Also, a large guard from KT. So Deft has a protected push. So I just wonder if they're going to move on to the next one, because that cannon wave is still ready and going.
They're moving, quite a large wave, as well as multiple members from KT rotating towards top side of the map. In fact, they have Smeb holding on to the mid lane. Score and Yukel sitting in Fog of War inside the brush, trying to see if they can catch Mad members rotating towards top side of the map. Liang getting good damage onto this bottom lane. Outer turret should be able to take that down, but no one here to defend the top lane. Inner, KT just going to push through turrets.
Yeah, and there's no flank TP as well, so Liang being in the bottom lane doesn't mean too much if he doesn't have an access to the back line. So right now, full confidence and comfort from KT.
1-for-2 trade when it comes to turrets. KT still staying on the top side of the map. Baron is available. Neither team has made an aggressive push towards the pit just yet. But Infernal Dragon is going to spawn in 15 seconds here.
And I don't expect it to be started out from KT, but I will say that Blade of the Rune King, Quintus from Varus, the passive damage that he has, Baron does, though, go down quite quickly, along with Yukel's Thalia as well. So Match should be respectful of that. And maybe that's going to give KT the Dragon, because if they're going to start placing control wards on the top side of the map so they have eyes, as they're currently doing, you can see right there, completely no idea that they were doing Infernal Dragon because they had to respect the Baron pressure.
They put a control ward at the back, at the backside of the Baron pit. Breeze tried to steal Infernal Dragon away, very close, but still picked up by KT. So although no massive leads, no major team fights being picked up by the LCK squad, MAD are still bleeding out.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that they're starting to realize that KT's starting to get the better of them in the few points that they've been looking. Mad made some reasonable decisions.
They did.
Decisions to say, no, we're not going to take that risk. But suddenly it wasn't risk. They just didn't decide because KT's vision control coming up to this point was strong enough.
That double Trinity Force is now online. We haven't seen MAD go for the picks. We haven't seen him force a fight against KT either.
In fact, Kongyu just purchased Stopwatch. So of course, yeah, he's going to be going towards the GA, but the initial Stopwatch makes it so he wants to look for the fight with the Trinity Force spike. So expect Mad to look for any member. Yukel doesn't have Flash. Flash timers are being placed here. So expect him to be the primary target if they see him.
And I mean, yes, Uniboy does have Stopwatch himself, but everybody from KT has one, right?
Yep.
They're ready.
Look,
I mean, if MAD are going to dive into the backlines, they're ready to go golden. They're happy to just sit there and look pretty.
You're playing solo queue. Have you ever pressed tab to see if the enemy team's buying up stopwatches?
Every game.
I don't. I never do. I'm always surprised. And so I'm just saying right now, Mad's probably not doing the homework. They're focusing on themselves rather than the enemy team. I'm putting that out there in the back of your mind.
These are professional players. I'm pretty sure they press tab quite often.
Yeah, tab.
Have you ever seen a POV stream? They just press tab every 2 seconds.
I definitely have.
They look at tab more than they look at the actual game.
I don't trust them.
What?
Hey.
You said you've seen it yourself, but you don't trust them.
Well, I mean, you could press tab, but what are you really looking at, though?
The items?
Their
Why
own
are you looking at
items.
me like that?
I gotta look at you like that.
I'm pretty sure MAD are quite aware that there are 5 stopwatches coming out from the side of KT. I mean, you have to be.
That's true.
Do you think it's a good read coming out from KT, though?
It is a good understanding, good read from them, especially since a lot of their focus right now, recognizing that the double bruisers, it's going to be a full engage coming from Mad. So as long as they could protect one member, and it has to be Death. Death can get to a point where if he gets all in on by the Camille, he can go golden, and then contribute to the fight by either throwing his ulti and then immediately flashing away. He's in a great position, and they can start firing up front to back. That's what Mad should be afraid of.
This is a funnel comp, though, Raz, and most of the goals being put onto Yukel. You don't think that's the member they should be looking towards to protect?
No, the consistent damage while Yukel is going to be providing it is going to be in Death's court from this point forward. This was a cool goal funneling strategy. I think the experience was like the primary factor of it, because Thalia, once she hit 6 with the Shen pick, it's really cool to get the game going really quickly. That being said, right now KT has so much vision control near Baron that if they ever find a pick just based off that Morgana Q, that they can just go all in with the Thalia wall. that's what's really fun seeing these gold funneling strategies. I mean, sometimes you can put it on an 80 carry just for the item, so it's purely on gold. Other times you just get the max experience value.
Cool, but they take the first look towards Baron Buff, taking it down very quickly. You already said Deft has the percent hit point damage. Great damage over time coming out from his auto attacks. Yukao taking it down very low as 1,000 hit points and secured by KT. Mad can't even force the team fight, and KT just take objective after objective after objective.
And these are the lessons you learn from veterans, because most of the time, you know, go up against a team that's ahead, they don't have that much of a deep vision. KT not only had proper control wards around the pit, had proper control wards deep into the red side jungle. It was Mad that didn't know if they were in the red side jungle, let alone the Baron pit itself. So it was a long journey from MAD to walk all the way from the base to the pit itself to realize that it was already gone.
Great moves coming out from KT, setting up well for these objectives. Not necessarily attacking MAD when it comes to skirmishes, team fights, but still taking something every time they find the opportunity to do so. It's given them a nice lead of 4,000 gold, 26 minutes into the match. We said that Mad can sit back, they can relax, they can hold on. But in doing so, they've been bleeding out.
Yeah, and at this point in time, Mad, the controller is completely far off and away from them. They can try and be desperate and look for a fight. That should be in the best interest right now with how much damage Smeb is taking. But remember, bot lane being pushed up by Shen, mid lane being pushed out by Talia and the crew. So they can actually just swap from mid to bot incredibly easily with the utility that they have.
That's a Dr. Mundo who's regenerating 20 hit points without his Warmog's passive. That's a lot. 150 per tick coming up when his Warmogs is online. Smeb doesn't care if he takes damage right now, especially if it's poked before a team fight. And KT use a small minion wave to push into the mid lane, taking down mid lane in a turret.
It's the saddest story for any poke champion. This time around, Ezreal. Doesn't matter how much endgame damage you have if you Breeze. If 100% is on towards Smeb, who's healing 100%, then you ain't doing nothing. I don't care what the game tells me.
And they're keeping score as a split pusher. This is a support Shen, Raz. It's not a top lane Shen. It's not a jungle Shen. Support Shen. He's split pushing for KT right now.
And he's a shepherd. Those minions might as well be sheep because the main focus is what KT's doing in the mid lane. If anybody leaves to deal with the Shen and minions, they will lose the tower, they will lose their lives.
They go for a fight in the mid lane. Liang forced the flash away. They're trying to take down Smeb. He just regenerates way too many hit points. On the flip side, Yukao being locked down by Camille, but now he's chasing the Camille, the hunter. Being the hunted as the wall's gonna separate the bottom lane from MAD, but Breeze as well as K are okay, but the base for MAD is not.
Yeah, they can go for a fight whenever they want.
Raz, this game's gonna end with 2 kills. I'm calling it right now because nobody wants to fight. Inhibitors are falling, and KT is breaking MAD's base.
All I want right now, it might seem like a weird request. I want KT to not get any more kills. That's all I want. I want them to end it by doing absolutely nothing at all.
Oh, no.
A la 2014. That's all I want.
There were actually a couple of Oceanic Pro players, Raz, that tried that. It took them 4 or 5 games, but they finally won a normal game of League of Legends without getting a single kill. It seems like KT's going for the exact same strategy, or it could be Mad. MAD could just be trying not to lose this game by dying.
I mean, it just comes down to practice. Practice in scrims, practice on stage. This feels like a proper practice on stage from KT because they're a team that's always been known as an early game team that could never close. Why can't they close it? So putting yourself in a position where you're like, all right, we don't need the kills, so we just focus on the objectives because that's what our composition is focused on. So right now, I mean, placing so many control wards topside, they can very easily make it about a double Baron game. They're coming up in, not sure, like 3 minutes or so. But that being said, they can just win the game, not having to fight a single time.
Potentially. MAD have been disengaging well, but never been able to force KT back, never been able to stop the bleeding that KT inflicted on them very early into the match. We mentioned that KT were not able to capitalize on this global competition, not able to capitalize on the funnel comp at the right time, but they've been taking objectives nicely. MAD, they failed to react. Now, they're looking for a fight themselves. Smeb goes down to half health, pops the ultimate, starting to regenerate, but they flick back Liang! Instantly taken down, and Smeb gets free access to the backlines. Talia builds a wall, doesn't cut anyone off. K's trying to disengage, Kongyu's trying to disengage as well. Still good damage coming out from Breeze, but not enough to push back KT just yet. Meanwhile, Uniboy pops the stopwatch, but he's at 1 hit point, taken down by Yukao. Throws another rock, and forces MAD back to the base. Going forward, looking for the flick, not going to get it, but keeps them trapped on top of this fountain. MAD can only watch at the moment as slowly Nexus turrets are going to fall.
Easiest day in Def's life. He just walks forward and he takes people front to back. seems like Mad just have one more shot at it with the HP that they have, but it doesn't look good.
Only 3 members, and they're already being forced back to the fountain again. Every single structure has fallen. KT looking to try and put a point on the board for the LCK squad. We're taking down this Nexus. They do just that.
And what a way to do it. Coming in there, saying we're going to play the LCK style. Vision control, we don't need those kills. We're going to play the map, not play you. That's what's going to be frustrating for MAD because they're trying to play a game of skirmishing, trying to play a game of team play, even had a proper early game TP play, feeling good about that. But then from that point forward, they're probably thinking, what the hell, what went wrong? What actually happened this game? Because we just blinked for 1 second, we lost Baron and we lost the game.
That was the most passive game of League of Legends I've seen this split. I think there was a total of 5 kills there, Raz?
Yeah, and it looked like a smacking. But I'm going to give MAD a lot of props because it could have been a lot faster of a game. And they responded by protecting bottom lane incredibly well. Hongyu was in the right position at the right time. Problem went when mid lane went down from the Rift Herald. They had a lot more room to push mid lane wave, room to push in control ward's top side. Really force MAD to respect the Baron pressure, and from that point forward, it was easy, breaking their ankles going towards the Dragon, then moving towards Baron itself, and then, hey, you know what? You lost focus for 1 second, you lose the objective, and we were able to just split you up.
Broke their ankles and always stayed a couple of points ahead the entire match till the very end. Nothing flashy, nothing crazy, a little bit of an unorthodox composition, but KT played it well. What went wrong though? Because they tried to attack, MAD responded, but slowly, they just could not find the opportunities to fight back.
The responses were coming slimmer and slimmer, and you could tell that MAD were not confident. The moment the Trinity Force came on for both members, the moment stopwatches was available, you would want them to fight. They didn't find those opportunities because they didn't have enough information. Few LPL teams, when they're put in those desperate situations, they just say, we go for it anyways. Doesn't matter if it's a proper start to the fight. When MAD got really focused, if they didn't have the vision control, they weren't really ready to go for it. Look at the damage done by Uniboy. It just came down to the fact that even though the early game looked good, he never found an opportunity in the game.
Never. Neither did he nor Kongye. The mid lane jungle duo, 1.6k, 2.4k.
Nothing.
It was in fact Breeze who picked up most of the damage coming out for MAD.
And I want the production to just wipe out all that Ezreal damage. I don't care what you say. If he's landing damage on Smeb, that does not count.
Why not?
That does not count.
That's damage to a champion.
Damage that he healed in 2 seconds time.
So what? He still did the damage.
I don't want to hear it, Fish.
Why
I don't want to hear it.
Oh, okay. We're not going to hear it apparently. But he did do the damage. 17.5k of that damage. Wasn't enough help from that. They looked for team fights late game. Just seemed like too little too late. KT's composition, although it was online early, became so much stronger later on.
Yeah, so if you cut it down 15 minutes from that point forward, very clean game from KT. It's really nice to see them going forward on that one. I want to see if they can really fix the first 10 minutes because, of course, teams really challenge them on that front. You have to be looking to play a little bit riskier in that front.
Which is what we know them to be strong at. KT played the early game well, but they closed out this match against MAD perfectly. Let's send it back to the analyst desk to break down the game.
And now, Papa, you get to breathe a sigh of relief as LCK takes their first win.
I'm going to be breathing sighs of relief in the last match of the day. This was one where if I needed to be breathing sighs of relief, then maybe the LCK was going to have to stumble a little bit more.
Okay, and real quick, before we get into this, again, we do want to point out Score did have an injury. You can see his leg was broken, so did not get up to go shake hands. It's not deliberately trying to salt the wound after that win. That was, of course, a bit of a tragedy that's going to happen. But now we actually get to break down how it actually happened in that game.
And I just wanted to see the fun KT come out, the one that fights you, brawl you. You remember last Rivals, HQ versus KT? That was the A team, but they didn't do anything against the B team. They actually just played their style. I think this was a master class when it comes to the draft. MAD got every single champion they wanted, but they were still countered out by KT.
Sorry, I'm still smiling because the KT meme is a masterful performance by KT. It's an immaculate performance. And you put the draft up, and the first thing I noticed when we were speaking about the game, Clement, was that you were saying this is ultra comfort for the side of MAD. So your first thought is KT didn't really look at the enemy team and say, huh, what should we ban? Because from what I can see, this is ultra comfort.
Definitely true, but you can see here that KT had an answer to every single thing MAD had. MAD were running a pickup. The question was that they didn't have a single lane that could move out themselves. The funneling kept Uniboy in his lane. The bot lane, they knew that he was going to pick up the Ezreal after the Ashe ban. They picked the Varus in response. Both of those counter picks pushed the wave in as well. The top lane was also a counter pick given over to Smeb. So the pick composition had no opportunities to actually find any action.
You look at also win rates, you know, for this particular game. Look at Liang, 2-0 on the Singed, 4-1 Aurelio, Uniboy's one trick we were touting it. The thing is, KT decided they were going to play single player. This was the most single player game of League of Legends I've seen ever.
PvE, not PvP.
They just didn't even need an internet connection to play this game. They just did their own thing as a 5, got in the lobby, and that is the reality of the funnel comp. It's why I think this strategy, with where it's at, is the most powerful way to play. Because if KT does everything KT wants, get all the camps, walk around, farm people up, don't interact, no kills, please, not necessary, they just win the game. The win conditions we talk about in the LCK is, can you get down 3 turrets pre-15 minutes against someone who doesn't have a jungler, that doesn't have the same global impact? They actually went 3 turrets to 0 up.
Oh, yeah.
They were way ahead in terms of pressure. And I think for many, many moments in this game, we were sitting there waiting for it to end because there just was really no counterplay here. The moment you commit to your stock standard, which is Aurelia, which is champions that don't push very well, KT get everything on the map and then just kind of ends.
Yeah, pretty much. But I will say KT's funnel was able to work because they had 2 pushing side lanes. The counter pick in the Muno versus the Singe, and of course the bot lane, where they knew they were going to go up against the Ezreal, was the big thing. That enables you to go inside the jungle and take away camps.
Strength of the side lanes is true. Also flexibility. They got big spheres to be playing funnel Talia. We're not talking about Xayah. We're not talking about Kai'Sa. We're not talking about really any of the standard funnel champs. This is just... Good thing we mentioned that Yukar was the one-trick Talia. This is his most played pick in his career in solo queue and in competitive play. He plays it very well. Score decides to just follow along. I love the comment from Raz, the shepherd.
Bringing the minions there.
KT Rolster in 2017 came together around Score as the star, and the rest of the team slotted in. He shepherded the minions. The game was single player. It was a treat to watch.
You're exactly right, and the evidence was there on the screen when we did get to see that Baron take by KT. It felt like it was so late, even though it must have been like maybe 25, 26 minutes into 27 there. And look at how quickly it goes down.
And look at our highlight clip with no kills in it, because the only thing that died was the huge purple worm. They run at it. It's Rageblade, Blade the Ruin King. It's Talia at level 17 at 27 minutes. Look at the levels of the enemy team. He's 7 levels ahead of the support.
Yeah, that's just so far ahead of the team. I have mad respect for KT right here, no puns intended. They gave Mad their chance. They gave them their best champions, and they said, hey, our arms are just longer than you. We're going to keep you at length distance. And, you know, they just had a perfect counter already. I think that's what you do when you're the stronger team. You have more upside. You give the lower team their chance, but you also teach them why they're 2 tiers below you.
But I know both of us need to know the answer. In fact, all 3 of us need to know the answer. Same question. Would KT play the exact same way against Rogue Warriors? That's the most interesting, because if they do and pull that off, what does it say about the comp? What does it say about their confidence?
What does it say about Rogue Warriors?
And we get that match today.
Yeah. It's going to be happening in our 6th match again today, though we'll get the chance to dissect that a little bit later on. But still, we've got to talk about how this is starting to shake up now for the LCK, because with the point seeding, LCK, they have now got their first win. We've got SKT coming up next and then KT after that. By the end of the day, every region will have a team that has played, by my count, 4 times. So what do you guys think we're looking for the pace of this, with LPL at 2, LCK and LMS at 1? Is that going to continue?
I think right now it depends on the result of the last match, because it feels like right now some of these LMS teams are very outmatched and they will end up inevitably falling down to some of the big opponents here. I'm thinking KT especially. So then the question mark is games like Rogue Warriors against KT. It is the China-Korea battles. I think so far KT have played very much one style. This funnel did it well. EDG Africa, EDG was certainly better on the day. Africa will learn from it. We're still learning. We're still early phase, but we have to make those decisions fast. That's why you're pushing us, because it's only 2 days of round robin, and then we're already in those best of 5s.
Yeah, I do think that the interesting thing is about LCK's other teams. SKT and Kingzone, they might be the more famous teams, but in terms of the standings, they're actually behind both KT and Africa. How are they going to shake up? Because those were our gods, basically. Those were the teams that we basically gave our faith to, but they're now on a very different standing. So I think this changes the framework of how we view the LCK in general. Are Griffin really that good if SKT just falter seeing
Need
the
more
LPL
data,
team.
Clemens?
Yeah.
I need to know more.
Yeah, basically that's what. But I will say for LMS, their players do look like they can stand up on the individual level.
Sure.
It's about the experience and the shot calling that's lacking.
Well, they've claimed a little bit of experience with that first game. They'll get one more chance to try and turn that around. That said, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. Afterwards, we'll get the chance to see SKT versus Machi. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.